Well, hello again. I think you can guess what's going to happen. I'm going to do another beer review. And the beer that I'm going to review this morning is Oakham's Citra Session IPA. 4.6% by volume. It says, and I quote, in 2009, on his annual hop sourcing visit to the US, Oakham's brewing director John Bryan discovered an exceptional new hop variety, Citra. He rushed it to the UK, ensuring that Oakham Ales were the first UK brewery to brew a beer with 100% Citra hops, and maintaining Oakham's reputation for pioneering innovation. Light gold in colour, bursting with citrus and tropical hop flavours, and sensationally refreshing. The original UK Citra. And that's right, they were the first to get hold of it. And my understanding is it sort of stuck them on the map. It raised their profile. And I think it could be the case that a larger brewery wouldn't have been as able to be able to procure enough of this new Citra hop for their sort of scale of production. Well, let's get this thing open, shall we? Shall we? Got my opener. Let's got that open. Let's go into the pour. So a lovely golden colour, not especially carbonated. I'm having to sort of give it a bit of a helping hand there. That's okay. It's not a lager. Lovely golden pint. Lovely that. Okay, let's go for some aroma. Yeah. That's Citra, alright. I'm going in. Cracking. Absolutely delicious. Best drink of the morning. Oh, it's a delicious thing. So what are we looking at there? This is it's a high alpha acid hop. This is IPA bitter, definitely. Although it's sweet on the way in and very fruity, very citrusy, very lemony. It's really quite bitter. I think you'd say it had a short finish. It's really quite bitter quite quickly. Reasonable mouthfeel. It's not the thickest of beers, but it's enough. It doesn't seem to retain its head amazingly well, but I don't think it's going to last very long. So that's okay then. It'll be able to retain it for long enough. The Citra hop, I thought, was grown in Citra. There's a couple of places in America called Citra, at least. But it turns out I'm wrong. It's grown in Washington, I think. So it's named that because it's so lemony. I might have said in a previous review the opposite. If I did say that, I'm really sorry. Yeah, slightly confusing because I reviewed previously a beer brewed by Oakham's for Marks and Spencer called Citra IPA, and it was a 4.9%, whereas this is 4.6. So I've also had this on draft in the pub, and it's more like 4.2%. So there clearly are some differences in the product, but they all taste pretty similar to me. got lots and lots of lovely Citra hops in them. So 4.9 is an IPA. 4.2 is possibly a session IPA. But 4.6, is that still a session IPA? It might be either a lively session or a short session, possibly. Shorter. Well, that's about as much as I can think to say about this. I've had lots of it before. I know I like it. It's much, much cheaper if you buy it from the supermarket under its own label than if you buy it from Marks and Spencer. That's for sure. And it really is much the same product, so you needn't do that. You can find this in most supermarkets. It's really a well-stocked item now, because it's so delicious. Really, truly, utterly scrumptious. And I could review this all day, every day. I'd run out of things to say, of course, but that's all right, because they wouldn't be very understandable anyway. I'll have one more go. Yeah, so I'm no sort of a professional. I'm just doing this for fun. What have I said? I've talked about the colour, I've talked about the pong, I've talked about the taste. This is IPA bitter. Oh, I haven't talked about bitter though. I read somewhere on the interweb that 25% of people can't taste bitter. And then there's others that are hypersensitive to bitter, very sensitive to bitter. So somebody that's sensitive to bitter really wouldn't like this. Or probably beer in general. Unless it's that orange cordial stuff that doesn't even taste like beer. I don't know what percentage it is that are hypersensitive, but they're saying that 25% of people can't taste bitter. The flavour bitter. So you can see why bitter beers would be popular. If you struggle to taste bitter, or you can't taste it at all, there's no need to make it sweet. Apparently we all taste sweet because of, I guess, lactose. Pardon me. Because of mother's milk. So we all start off tasting sweet. But the bitter thing was to do with knowing what was safe to eat and what wasn't. That most toxins, poisons, are bitter. And a lot of fruit and the like are bitter until they're ripe, until they're ready for you to eat them, and then pass on their seeds. Yeah, so being able to detect bitter was a really important thing in our past. But now in modern days, when everything comes from the supermarket and it's all tried and tested, and really there aren't any hazardous, toxic or poisonous things that we're exposed to anymore, really. It's really not quite so important. It doesn't save your life anymore. And therefore, it's no longer only the people that can detect bitter tastes and therefore poisons that pass on their genes. Now, the people that would have formerly got poisoned are now able to pass on their genes as well. And so, apparently now, up to a quarter of us modern peoples can't detect bitter. So you might be somebody who likes coffee but not grapefruit, or vice versa. Something. So it's not clear cut. There are different types of bitter, clearly. They think there's something like 40 different things that go into detecting bitter, and only 2 that go into detecting sweet things. Which would make sense from the evolutionary point of view. It'd be far more important that you could detect bitter if it would save your life. But hops are bitter, and hops are a distinct bitter flavour, and I guess the hop produced its lupulins, or whatever the resin is, to protect itself, and that the bitter flavour should be to dissuade creatures from attacking it, I guess. It's just that we happen to like bitter, or we can't taste it. We need the bitterness of the hop to balance the sweetness of the wort, otherwise it would just be like alcoholic barley water, which some people would like. But if you don't hop it much, that's what you get. And if you're only going to stick blackcurrant or orange essence in it anyway. Doesn't really matter, does it? What need for hops? But if you're making proper beer, you have to have hops. And they're bitter, and some people really like that. I'm one of them. I like a nice bitter beer. And this is one of those. They're absolutely delicious. Refreshing, bitter, tasty, lemony, zesty. Everything it says on the packet. Yeah, zesty, hoppy, citrus. No word of a lie. Cracking beer. So, what would I twin it with? I'd twin it with something else that's that kind of foreign hop IPA. Like, for instance, Marks and Spencer's citrus. No, I'm joking. Like, Proper Job, the Cornish brewery, St Austell. Well, I'm going to neck the rest of this happily and push on through to my next review. Thanks ever so for watching. Hopefully see you again in another review. Cheery bye.